6 minutes.
Is that really? Okay, so let me just log that out.
So you can add having a chat about P&M. Also, there was a lot of reflection coming off the slides, so we couldn't really read them.
Right.
Or I don't know what it's like for you.
Yes, there was that problem.
The font was too small.
Right.
Remember, assessors are blind, especially on the tables. You were really good when we were talking about the photos and maps and you were pointing, that was great.
Yes.
But there's too much text. And please forgive me for making a personal comment, but you'll need to take out your earring and wear a jacket.
Okay, I can't take these out, that's the thing though.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, I can't, yeah.
I mean, it's not a big problem, it's just they're really traditional, boring people.
Right, yeah, no.
Yes.
Yeah, there's just, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So wear a jacket.
I'll try, yeah, I will wear a jacket, yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Let the hair grow a bit over.
I haven't got time.
Yeah.
And long hair's even worse, I think.
No.
Right, okay. So yeah, you need to add to that presentation or slow it down substantially.
There was one page you've got of 4 points or 4 paragraphs. That is almost wow.
Right.
And it'd be better to put that on 2 pages. That's what I mean. There's nothing the matter what you've done. It's just, well, it's like me doing that to you.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if those were split onto, say, 3 pages, that would make it so much
Probably
clearer.
might slow me down as well if I've got more slides to go through.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. And I liked when you were talking through the building and showing us the photographs there, because obviously I think the sprinklers is an area where there's going to be a lot of conversation. And you could do with revising Raybus, I think, because it's not just about physical, it's also about use as well. You've got that when you were talking about the City Duck case.
Right.
Obviously it is, your responses were quite good, but they're not quite technical enough.
Right.
So revise those principles.
You're on the right lines,
Yeah.
but it needs that bit more detail.
Okay.
And I thought you were very good on answering some of my P&M stuff when I was
Yeah.
trying to trip you up and get you thinking about the conflict between whether it should be repairable or not, and if it's present in the property, even if it's not used, could it be rateable? I mean, thinking about it simply, if you had a comfort cooling system and they didn't turn it on because it was broken,
Yeah.
they didn't use it, it would still be rateable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanted you to make that fine, different judgment and explain why.
Yeah. I thought, did I not say that? Did I not sort of outline it, or?
Well, you skirted round it by sort of saying, well, it's not rateable, and it hadn't got sprinkler heads, and it had got an artificial ceiling. Well, the answer could have been yes, you could have knocked that out.
Right, I see what you mean, yeah.
That's a minor work.
Okay, yeah.
Under your City Duck case.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, and I think that maybe you could add on, I can't remember if you did an expert witness advocate thing on your presentation.
I did on my critical analysis,
on
yeah.
the
Yeah,
analysis.
but if you could,
Oh, not on my...
yeah, but
No.
you could add a slide on that.
Yeah.
And again, that would tick a conflict avoidance box as well.
Yes.
So you need to put your valuation up as well and talk through it line by line like Rob did. That was quite good. But your delivery is great. I mean, you're a very good natural presenter, and I think the only issue here is that you haven't really prepared it properly. You haven't had time.
Yeah. No, I know that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and you even got the P&M decaf right, and
Yeah.
you didn't know your case law Bisham Abbey you were after, weren't you? Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
case law pests,
Yes.
valuation, SDLT and planning.
Yeah. You Norman let you off the hook with mezzanines because you said there were tenants improvements, and obviously, you know, that's not going to be included in rents, but it's included in the RV.
Right.
So he didn't really.
I did, but
Yeah.
I was. It's time.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I know. No, you did a great job. Yeah, but generally your knowledge is really good there. What was all that double bed unit business about? I didn't quite get that.
Well, what I wanted you to say is that's a convenient shorthand way of comparing,
Right.
which it is.
Okay.
Which is, you started to tell me how it was done, which is right. What I was seeking was that from an analysis of accounts, a simple ready-reckoner method of comparison is to convert everything into double bed units. And a double bed unit is typically what you said, together with ensuite facilities, which was why I chased you after that. Because a family room has a greater factor, typically 1.1. The double bed unit is 1, and say a single bed unit is 0.7, let's say. Well, you can add all the rooms up and then divide that into whatever you've got for RV to get a price per room. Which you then can compare to another property, which can find a degree of overtrading or undertrading. And what I wanted you to say was, well, it's a unit of comparison. Spot on. Next question.
Yes, because the father of rating case is important. I thought L&T weren't bad though. What did you think?
No, I was impressed with your L&T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can tell you've actually done something there.
Yes.
One of the problems we had with Rob's was that he was a bit more level 1 based, but I believe that you'd actually done that, so that was good. But again, he let you off the hook with case law. He's been very kind to you today.
Yes.
What's the case law for user clause?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's Plymouth Properties, but
that's fine.
so that's
it's got 3 underlines.
Case law.
It's all in the revision guide, so you haven't got too far to look.
Okay.
Conflict avoidance, what do you think?
Yeah. Not as good as the last one, but not bad.
Yeah. Were you trying to get independent expert and arbitrator out
Yes.
of him? Yeah, and then you decided to stick with the first question. Yeah. Okay. So
that was my fault.
Yeah. But no, you do you know that one well. I like your interpretation of statement of case as well. You don't come across as a button pressing monkey. You come across as somebody who really knows what these things are about and how to use them. So that was good. What about building pathology?
I thought not bad.
Yeah.
You hesitated a bit over the woodworm or common furniture beetle, if you prefer, and you eventually got to dry rot to Merillus lacrymans. Yes, it is a spore. And the fruiting bodies are orange or yellowy orange or browny orange.
Wool, aren't they?
Yes, with white edging, and it's so noticeable. Whereas wet rot looks like brickwork.
Right.
It really is regular with oblongs. But your designation that it was caused by water ingress is perfectly correct.
Got a comment on your technique here. When he was asking you and you couldn't quite remember what you were having a guess, we could tell you were guessing.
Yes, you went quiet.
You sort of went, what? Speak up. So
you'll see that.
If you watch The Weakest Link, you see that sometimes people don't get voted off even when they get answers wrong if they answer confidently. Well, it's a bit like that in your interview. They might forget you got an answer wrong if you answer confidently.
Yeah, okay.
So
well, some of them, I did like that one, the arcade, I haven't even said it to VT, but I was going to make it up on the spot. So but I'm doing it. I agreed yesterday.
Yeah, okay. So yes, that was better than I thought. You've all done better on build pathology than I expected so far, because I thought that was going to be crash and burn. I really did, but yeah.
No, it hasn't been.
Now, I like the aircon questions. That's really topical, and expect them to really go for it.
And I know you're good at that, so I pushed you.
There's a load of case law. Dorothy Perkins next, Ed Majula's, really important stuff. So look up. If it's in there, you've mentioned the comfort cooling thing. Be ready for aircon.
And be ready to meet a VO that will need convincing. So case law.
Yes. I was saying to Rob, they won't give a career history, so you won't be able to tell unless it's somebody you know that it's a VO.
And if they are, then they shouldn't be in the first place. Yeah.
Oh well, you need to
it's too late then,
you need to assume it's at least one of those people is a VO.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't be mean about the VO, basically.
And you know how they are on that.
Well, that's why I phrased it when about the same in the case. It wasn't like, well, it doesn't mean nothing. Yeah. Well, sometimes you understand.
But I was asking that for other reasons. Yeah. I think what Kate said is very right. I think you can hit the VO with case law and shut them up.
Oh, they'll love it.
But you know, if you'd explained J. Lang and the 4 tests of rateable occupation, he'd have shut you up straight away. And the same with some of these other cases. I asked you a case on the repair and on the sprinklers and cost effective. Well, that's Patrick Bond's case. If you mention that, which is in his textbook, it's a shop in Ipswich. It's something like Jones.
You won't get him.
You won't get Bond, hopefully. But the point is that shut the VO up straight away.
Yeah.
Straight away.
Yeah, well, their approach on aircon is severely flawed, especially
Yes.
in retail.
And we know that, and that's why you need to have that case law at your fingertips, because you may have to argue it. Don't forget, the longer he lets you argue on that, the less time there is for the rest.
Yeah.
And you should be on home
You don't
ground.
want to waste time.
No, but
Nice.
you see, it's up to the chair to shut that down.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you after with Energy Act?
Oh well, that was seeing if you're up to date.
Yeah.
It's the Energy Act is energy performance things on page 26 of the current March
Minimum energy
edition.
efficiency
no,
standards,
I
isn't
think
it? The
it's-
MEES thing.
Oh well, that's to come. That's the next one. I'm asking someone else. Yes, are you aware that what that says is the energy efficiency regs force an EPC with grades F to G from 2023. They can't let.
Right.
It's going to be important,
Yeah.
and it's in.
Right.
Yeah, it is
in
very
the March.
topical. That
I'm
is.
trying to see. I'm trying to show you. You read an up to date. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
because this is still going to be current.
Particularly that one.
Yeah.
Particularly this one. This is current because mine only came a week ago.
Right.
This is current for your thingy,
Right.
your interview.
Yeah.
And as I say, there's a whole section of this on page 26.
Okay, we'll have to press on because I want to make sure I get through all of his feedback. Now, valuation was a bit of a disaster area.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
But it's just revision. So your red book basis of value was just off. So revised valuation practice statement 4. Net V gross yield is purchaser's costs. So you add the purchaser's cost to the sale price before you divide the rent by it.
Yeah.
The yields you were talking about in your investment valuation, they were all risk yields, so not unequated.
Oh, yeah.
Your residual was quite good. Sale as community infrastructure levy. You forgot the SDL changes, but it's in here.
Yeah. Right. So.
Right, so you're just talking about the stamp duty thresholds, weren't you?
Right.
The
Oh,
change-
right. Yeah.
It wasn't
yeah.
complicated.
Oh, right. See, I just didn't recognise what the
Yeah.
abbreviation was.
Registered valuer is really topical. So
Right.
that given that you've talked about doing red book valuations, I might ask that.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't. Dead people aren't entitled to have their data protected. Your due diligence is just. I was just looking for you to tell me that you read the leases really there.
Right. Okay.
Can I add
yeah?
something to that? For family matters, I'm trying to get some information out of relates to an auntie of mine. So it's close. Who's dead? And I'm trying to get hold of something. Trying to get hold of some court reports because I believe an offence was committed, and it's quite serious. A serious offence. The key thing is, at the moment, that I cannot get the data out of the various data authorities. Yeah, and it includes court records and transcripts, interestingly, of a criminal case and also of an inquest.
Aren't they matters of public record? Were they in camera?
Well, it would appear so.
Anyway.
And that shows you how difficult it
It
is.
is. Yeah.
And Information Commissioner is the person you complain to. You were good with your gold plans. They're quite a good way of demonstrating property records because when I was at the VA, we used to do different colours for different years of rents and everything. IPMS you're really good on, so well done. Your balance sheet with a bit of help you got there.
Yes. Yes. You eventually got the liability.
Yeah. Rules need brushing up. Not bad. The 5 global ethical standards. We've been through that so many
I know.
times.
Like you see, yeah. I was revising that yesterday as well.
Yeah,
So,
okay. But under pressure, it's really hard to think,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Can you say?
And money laundering as well. That's what
Yes.
the suitcase cash was all about.
Right, yeah.
Can you say that if you need it at your fingertips, so it's not forgotten?
Yeah.
When you forget it, it shows you don't know it.
Yeah,
That's the tragedy, Michael. It doesn't mean you actually don't know it.
Yeah.
It means you don't know it well enough.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
tragedy.
Okay.
So, I would have, if it hadn't have been for valuation and then rules and ethics at the end, I would have said you were borderline.
Yes.
But they were
They were what got you.
Let me down, yeah.
they were a big problem.
You performed better than I expected, actually. So
Well, I think, Michael, that you're, what's the word, a brilliant caseworker, and it's absolutely right that you should be a senior surveyor already, but you're struggling to give the focus to this that it needs. and we want you to be a chartered surveyor, and we want you to progress to senior management quickly and be a bright face for CVS. And that's what CVS want. They have marked your card for the future. So give this everything it deserves. So
you really have to. There's no shortcut to this. There honestly isn't. It's bloody graft. But I know you work hard, so that shouldn't faze you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, like I said, I need that revision time.
You do.
And that's why
I'm afraid your life's on hold now for the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So in terms of that, what I've given you there is the full list of questions that I got from your materials. There's like 4 or 5 interviews worth there for practice, and then there's my notes from today's interview, which are quite good when Norman's talking and rubbish when I'm talking, because I can't really think and write at the same time. But it does highlight the key things, I think. Review the video and you'll see for yourself, how you're coming across and the fact that the presentation was really rushed.
Right, okay.
I've made loads of comments. Would you like to take my copy away? I would like it back for sometime in the future for the next APC tranche, because we want to use these.
Yes, is that all right if I keep this for core 1?
Yeah, that's fine.
But you're welcome to use it up until... I'm in London fairly frequently, so when you've done it all, say, hey Norman, you've got a load of weight to carry home. All right?
Okay.
How's that, Michael?
That's great,
and you'll find I've underlined and I've written, you can see where I was writing the questions from.
Yeah.
You might find that useful.
Right, okay, cool.
Right, so... but well done, you got through it, and now you can just watch everybody else.
So how does that compare to sort of like BTZ and stuff like that? Or was it
it's
similar?
It's pretty comparable, to be honest. At this stage, you're all in the same boat.
Right.
And the difference from now to finishing line is who takes on board the feedback and who doesn't.
Yeah.
So the ones who listen, they pass, and the ones who don't...
And who puts the time in.
I
know it's an old-fashioned thing. If it works for you, it does for many people. Draft a timetable, draft a work timetable for this, and stick to it. Don't think you can absorb it all in 4 days or 5 days.
If you want any help with the presentation, once you've decided on your slides, drop me a line and I'll have a look at them and think about it. Also, when you get your date, if you could let me know as well.
When do we find that out?
Quite soon.
Right.
Well, the assessors have all been told, so I'm doing the 28th of April and the 1st of May, and I'm hoping that I'll be there the same time that you guys are, so that I can talk to you and hopefully your assessors as well, find out what's going on.
But I would treat it as a good revision for the degree, for your degree, and schedule a timetable for those headings. And do the usual tricks, mix it up, don't concentrate all on one, etc., and break it into bite-sized chunks. And I think Michael, you'll have a very good revision that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I detect that's your style.
Yeah.
And I think I would go back to that.
I've got quite a good memory when I start writing stuff down.
I can see you have.
I've always felt that you're one of the strongest candidates.
Yeah. But you've got to do it.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut.
But you're not finding the time that you need.
Yeah.
And it's starting to show.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't want to beat you up over it, but you can't wing technical questions.
No, you can't. No.
You can't waffle it.
Right. Okay. So who's next? We've got Oliver before lunch, but of course I need more water.
Yes. Well, that's all right. Can you tell Oliver in 5 minutes, please?
Yes.
Because he's on at 12.
I'm sure you. Is that fresh?
That, yeah.
Okay, we'll have that one for you.
I'm sure you're going to sit in the gallery now, or you might have work to do. But
no, we'll come back in.
I think it's a bit of support because your colleagues think, well, don't you been through it? Now you're watching me. And the other thing is you can learn because I've got different questions to ask different people.
Yeah.
So you are learning.
Yeah, exactly.
By sitting in on there.
Exactly.
So because my bouncer question, that was the one about, did you know about the energy?
Yeah.
There's 5 of those and they're all different.
Right, okay.
But they're all the same thing.
So it's a similar,
Keep quiet. Oh, have you read that?
Right.
That's all what they're
That's
about.
what it is, yeah.
They're all out of there.
Yeah, it needs to be known, doesn't it?
It's a no-brainer. It's a sort of thing.
Hiya.
Hiya.
You alright?
Yeah, I went for A3.
Oh, you got a big one.
Accidentally.
That's alright.
Well, I'm going to see how it
to be honest,
goes.
I've been struggling to see them, so
But
I'm quite
we'll
relieved
see how
to
it
see a
goes,
big
and
one.
then if you think it's
Yeah.
too big, we'll change it.
Wow.
Oh, I can't even cardi on, you know.
Well, it has gone a bit cooler because I thought we're going to have a big steam in here, but no, it hasn't been.
So how are you feeling?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. I'm afraid we've got our tough hats on today.
Okay.
Let's get your submission.
Yes.
Got enough water? Yeah, cheers.
Because I've been following that.
Yes.
That's
yes,
very useful.
We've been doing quite well, haven't we?
I think so.
Yes.
Because I started with mine here, but you've got a few minutes yet. You've got a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Unless you want to start over.
No, I don't really like people coming and going, so.
No. But it does say on the timetable 12 o'clock.
Mhm.
It's not quite there yet.
How did you think Michael got on?
Good with some, same as everyone, I think, good with some things, but slipped up on like valuation.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so,
Obviously as well.
pardon?
Liked it, obviously.
Yes. Yes. Verbal habits. That's what the video is good for. That. Is somebody listening to something?
There's a conference call
Oh
next
right.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the problem with non-structural walls.
Last that night.
Is Michael going to come back in? Did he see?
I think he said he was, yes.
Oh right. Well, we'll bet it's 12, so I'll make a start with my preamble. Right then, Oliver, thank you for attending today, your final assessment interview.
Thank you.
In a moment, we'll do the presentation. We always do that first. It needs to be 10 minutes and no more. And then after the presentation, we ask you questions for about 10 minutes. Norman will ask you questions, and then I will ask you questions about the presentation.
Okay.
Then once we finish that, we'll put down the visual aid and we'll focus on the other competency areas. And again, Norman will go first and ask you questions for, around 20 minutes on several technical competencies. And then I'll do my competencies and then finish up with the conduct and mandatories. Norman's going to do local tax, landlord and tenant, conflict avoidance, building pathology and inspection, and I'm going to do valuation, property records, measurement, mandatories and conduct. Now there's a glass of water, so feel free. If he dries up, could one of you run off and get a replacement? Thank you very much. There's some paper. Have you got a pen?
I do, yeah.
Okay, get a pen out as well, because then if there's any questions that you can't answer, you can maybe make a quick note and we can come back to that at the end. You do get the last word. So we make notes throughout. Please don't let that bother you, okay? It's just to help us with the feedback. So it only remains for me to check, are you fit and well and ready to proceed?
Yes.
Okay, if you'd like to commence your presentation, please.
Okay, thank you. My name is Oliver Hamblett and I'm currently working as a rating surveyor at CVS. The project I would like to present to you today is a rating appeal in respect of 66 High Road, London NW10 2PU. I've chosen this project because I've had substantial involvement in it from start to finish. The format of today's presentation is to discuss the introduction, the key, particularly key issue 1 in depth, comparable rental evidence, rental analysis, valuation and outcome and reflection. The project has covered several competencies to level 3, including valuation, local taxation, inspection, conduct rules and ethics, and property records information systems. I was instructed by my client to challenge their 2010 rating list assessment in respect of their property. The rateable value was 21,250 with effect from 3rd of June 2010 and based on a Zone A rate of £350 per metre squared. The property comprises a mid-terrace Victorian building arranged over 4 stories, and the subject terrace is within the ground floor and basement. The property is of solid brick construction lined under a timber pitched parapet roof. The property is located on High Road between its junction with Linacre Road and Lechmere Road in the northwest London area of Willesden. High Road is predominantly occupied by independent retailers, and there are some high street chain stores, including HSBC, Domino's Pizza and Ladbrokes. The key issue 1, which is valuation approach, is the one I'm going to deal with in depth. And the options were to challenge the tone or accept the tone. I decided there was sufficient comparable rental evidence to challenge the tone. First of all, in accordance with Lotus and Delta, I took the rent on the subject property as the starting point. 66 High Road, across the top, had a rent of £19,000 with effect from 6th of April 2008, which devalued to £310 per square metre. This is extremely close to the AVD, and although I did account for the fact that it was a rent review. I then looked at other rents in the vicinity, and fortunately I had two good rents on 64 and 62 High Road. 64 High Road, second row down, was a new lease from 1st of October 2007, so within 6 months of the AVD, and the rent was £15,000, which devalued. I had to make adjustments for a 3-month rent-free period, which devalued to £282, and this is next door to the subject property. They also found a rent on 62 High Road, which is a rent review from 1st of December 2007, rent of £12,500, which devalued to £334 Zone A. This was within 4 months of the AVD, although I accounted for the fact that it was also a rent review. So I didn't ignore the basket of evidence. I weighted my evidence towards what I considered the best evidence on 64 High Road, as it was a new lease and fairly close to the AVD. And I took a holistic view of all the evidence and didn't ignore the rents on 66 High Road and 62, but weighted my evidence towards, I think the average is about 310 of the three, weighted my evidence towards the rents on 64 and adopted a proposed Zone A rate of £300. This slide has details of how I arrived at my analysed rates and Zone A rates. The first property is obviously the subject property, a 15-year lease from 6th of April 1998. The rent was determined at £19,000 per annum, and I divided this by the area in terms of main space of 61.19 square metres to arrive at £310 per square metre. The second comparable was a 10-year new lease from 1st of October 2007, which was subject to a 3-month rent-free period. I therefore adjusted the rent-free period over the first 5 years because there was a 5-year rent review, so I did adopted the straight line method up to the 5-year review, which provided a net effective rent of £14,250 and a analysed, which devalued to just under £282 per metre squared. The last comparable, 62 High Road, is a rent review to 1st of December 2007. The rent required no adjustments, so I just divided it into the area in terms of main space of 37.4 square metres, and this came out at £334 per metre squared. That was my proposed valuation based on a revised tone of £300, which provided a value of 18,357 and rounded down to 18,250 rateable value. The appeal was determined by way of valuation tribunal. I acted as an expert witness at the hearing. I ensured that I acted impartially and honestly, and ensured that my reasoned opinions of value were based on evidence and supported by evidence, and I was accompanied by an advocate whose duty was to the court, duty to the client, sorry. Unfortunately, the decision didn't go in my favour, and the appeal was dismissed by valuation tribunal. However, on reflection, I believe it was the appropriate decision based on the evidence and the uncertainty surrounding the case law. I decided that no further action was necessary by way of upper tribunal. The project, I was able to learn from the project that there are certain interpretations of the case law which can be a determining factor, such as the O'Brien v Harvard case, which is about comparable, about tone of list and at what point a tone will become established. It's not quite clear at what point or what stage a tone will become established, and I think that was the potential flaw in my case. And I also learned that the importance of thorough research, and I demonstrated this by analysing and weighting evidence in a logical way to form a reasoned opinion of value. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Oliver. Norman's going to ask you some questions now.
Yes, thank you. I notice you say very early on that when you inspected the property, you identified it met the 4 tests of rateable occupation.
Yes.
Can you give me those, please?
They are exclusive, beneficial, not too transient, and
Okay.
It's come from my mind.
Can you tell me the case that gives rise to those, please?
I can't know.
Okay, thank you. I notice you say that you've summarised the rent here, and that further evidence you got from a variety of sources, which include the 3 that you major on as the comparables.
Yes.
And you say that you adopted a straight line method when stripping out the rent-free periods.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Purely because it's standard practice in rating industry to adopt a straight line method. It's a method that everyone adopts. I understand that had I used another method, the analysis, it might have brought the analysis down, but I don't think it would have been accepted by the valuation officer.
That was my next question. What did the valuation officer do over any of their rental analysis, or did they not do any rental analysis?
They decided not to analyse the rent-free period at all, the 3-month rent-free period.
They used the same evidence in the case?
They used the same evidence, but it ignored the rent-free period and as a standard fit-out.
For the 3 months, maybe. What about the 6 months? Same with that?
6 months. There wasn't a 6-month rent-free period in my case, but I would imagine you couldn't consider that as a fit-out period.
No. All right. Thank you for that. I notice you talk about taking the holistic view of the basket of evidence and a stand-back approach. And you mentioned the case of Lotus and Delta. Take me through how you stood back, please, and considered the basket of evidence here.
In the case of Lotus and Delta, you take the rent on the subject property as the starting point, and you make adjustments from that if necessary, and then you look at comparable rental evidence as
Did you make any
Close.
adjustments to the subject?
I didn't know.
As it was so close to
It was-
AVD?
yeah, it required no adjustment.
Yes.
And then look at comparable rental evidence in the immediate locality.
Okay, thank you. I notice that you've put the comparable settled evidence, which I imagine partly came from negotiations with the VOA, I presume, and also looking on the website.
Yes.
Were any of those... I know there's number 56 to 58 was agreed with the agent, but that was due to physical factors. Other than that, was there any others settled or agreed by settled?
No,
No,
they
it
were all settled by lack of challenge.
Yeah.
Struck out.
Well, I want to pick that up when talking about tone of the list, which is part of your case, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think the date of the hearing would have had a bearing on that? My point being that obviously the list comes into being from the 1st of April 2010, and the date of the hearing was the 5th of March 2014.
Yes, I mean, we were a good 4 years into
Yeah.
the rating list, and I think that definitely had a determining factor on the
Did you
decision.
push that hard?
I probably could have pushed it more.
Okay, thank you. You take my point. There must be a point somewhere at which the tone is established. And notwithstanding the case law support, they still felt 2014 was not a... Okay, okay. I'd also like to ask you about your roles, because obviously you only went as an expert witness.
Yes.
Did you cross-examine the VO?
I didn't know, because that's the role of the advocate.
The advocate did,
Yes.
Were you cross-examined?
I was, yes, by the valuation officer who was acting in a dual role.
Right. Would you feel confident to act in a dual role?
I understand the duties of each role, but I also understand that there are limitations to my professional capacity, and I know it's easy to slip between roles unless you specifically state when you're transferring from each.
Thank you. I want to ask you, are you aware of any case law that supports the standing back approach?
I'm not, no.
No. Okay. This property obviously only comprises, as you say, ground floor and basement. And it's obviously a retail premises. How did you measure it? On what basis?
On net and turn area.
Okay. I would also like to return to discussing the aspects of comparability in the basket and weighing the evidence. You clearly have 3 rented properties, and I don't think there's any challenge over the veracity of the rents, are there? Nobody's
No.
suggesting that the other side, the VO, didn't suggest they were incorrect, so
No.
they're taken as factual. And equally, obviously, it's factual whether the comparables are agreed or whatever, or not appealed, or so forth. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 comparables versus 3 rents. How do you see that in terms of weighing up the basket of evidence, not just the basket of rents, the basket of evidence, how all relevant evidence being admitted, how do you weigh the relevance of that evidence?
I would say that I would calculate how many of the total amount of appeals had been challenged or not, and then of those I would work out a percentage of how much have actually been settled in comparison to the total number of comparable assessments within that scheme or parade, and then take a view as to whether that if it was above 50%, then it might hold more weight than.
Thank you.
Not.
Thank you. That's me done.
Okay,
I think.
thank you. Right. Can you just put the photograph of the property back up, please, Oliver? There it is. Right, lovely. Is the front of the property different to the building line? You can't really tell. Does it go
Is it set
in?
back?
Is it?
It shouldn't be set back.
So it's a flat
flush,
front. Okay,
yeah.
fair enough. What's that plant growing out of the gutter?
It looks like some sort of vegetation. It's likely, because of parapet roofs, will have guttering running along the just the inside of the parapet wall. It's probably just some vegetation growth that's been left to establish itself within the gutter.
Right. Okay. What would you do if you were the property manager?
I would just get it removed, and that would resolve any potential issues.
Okay. Now you also said very confidently there that it's solid wall construction. How do you know?
Because of the, it's just a line of stretchers, so there's no interlocking brickwork.
There's
Right.
headers
So,
as well as structure.
So that's what I meant. It's
Yeah.
interlocking brickwork.
So you've got stretchers and headers. Okay. What's the condition of the basement?
It was basic storage, potentially damp because of the smell.
Yeah.
There were no natural light.
How would you test for damp?
If I was undertaking, I didn't test for damp in this
No,
purpose,
you wouldn't
but
need
if
to,
I
but yeah.
if I was, I'd use a damp meter.
Okay. Now, Norman mentioned the 4 tests of rateable occupation. Describe how this property meets them all.
It's occupied by. It's currently occupied by. It's available to be occupied, and therefore it has benefit. It's I can't answer that
Right. Okay.
confidently.
What was the material day?
The material day was 3rd of June 2010, because that was when the property was brought into the rating list
Oh,
after
right.
being fire damaged.
Oh, okay. Right. Fair enough. What does material day mean?
When the physical factors are taken into account.
And where am I going to find that in the legislation?
Not sure.
So we've already talked about your straight line. What amount of rent free is normal in this market for fit out?
Normally, you would expect 6 weeks
Oh,
for a
right.
rent-free period.
So hence why you analysed 3 months then?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Lotus and Delta earlier. What was that case about?
It's about the hierarchy of evidence and which evidence you should deal with first, and about dealing with the subject property rent.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, understand all that. But what type of property was it about?
Lotus and Delta is in respect of a I can't remember.
Okay. Do you know what city it was in?
No.
Okay. Why did you attach less weight to a rent review in your analysis?
Because a new letting it's been tested on the market, It has no constraints by a lease terms or lease clauses, and reflects the fully open market.
Right. Okay. Now you said that you followed Surveyors Act as Expert Witnesses 3rd edition. Well, we're on the 4th edition, so why did you follow the 3rd edition?
I believe that when I was at tribunal, the 4th edition had.
When did the 4th edition become mandatory?
January 2014.
Okay. That's all from me. Thank you, Mr. Withy.
Right. Me?
Yes.
Right. I need to look at your competencies now, please. I'd like to turn to local taxation first, if I may. Right. Tell me a bit about zoning, please. What are the traditional depths of zones?
Traditional depths are either 15 foot, 25 foot, 25 foot, or 20, 20, 20 foot. Zones.
And in metric?
6.1, 6.1, or...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because we have been metric since 1967. Okay. You say you undertook a rating appeal on a warehouse in Lady B Industrial Estate in Worthing, and you talk about this, and you talk about the strong, functionally essential link. Is there a case on that?
The case I adopted for that was Harris Graphics, and the case is very similar to mine in the fact that there were two industrial units separated by another industrial unit that was under different occupation, and I was able to demonstrate using that case law and the fact that there were a number of processes that required to be transferred from one unit to the other, and lots of touring thrown with forklifts.
Thank you.
And
thank you. You also talk about the first-class sports bar in Wembley.
yes,
Now, that was you valued that on gross receipts on a trade basis. Can you give me a case that would support that, please? No. Okay, that's all right. Clearly, it was valued as if it was a public house.
yes.
How would you value a public house given the accounts?
I would review the accounts and work out a fair maintainable trade, and then I would look at a few years' accounts for this purpose of rating. So I looked at the 2007, 2008, 2009 accounts, and took a view of. I took an average and holistic view of the 3 years, and then arrived at a fair maintainable trade for those years. And
we've got the fair maintainable trade. Is fair maintainable trade rateable value?
No, I would then decapitalise it to rateable value.
Is there a guide for doing that?
Yeah, the VOA 2010 approved guide for valuation of public houses.
Thank you. And that's therefore on their website?
Yeah.
If you looked up that guide, do you know what it shows?
The guide has various banding for wet and dry sales, and banding for different localities.
Thank you. I'd like to move on to the industrial unit in your template at Ford Aerodrome Industrial Estate, Sussex. You say it was a 1940s built property. I'm not suggesting it wasn't, but you say that. And it was used as a children's play centre. So how's it going to be valued?
The property was in an industrial estate, and it was from externally it was an industrial unit that had just been fitted out internally as a children's play centre. So vacant and to let have considered it to be an industrial unit, and that's what the use would be.